Hello. Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to Thomas Podcast, episode 70. Here, I'm joined with John and Owen, and I'm very tired today. This is why you get three uploads in one day. You've seen John and I already today, most likely, because we've talked about WrestleMania. We haven't filmed that yet. That's filming tomorrow and getting posted straight away. But right now, we're to talk about the Elite Latin and some other fun shenanigans. How are you two? How's it going?
I'm very good, thank you. I'm reporting to you live from a street party in the East End in 1953 to celebrate the coronation of Queen Elizabeth II.
And Owen, what about yourself? How are you? You okay?
If you look, you
Let's get
might
to the.
see Owen in the background of this picture somewhere.
You should, yeah.
I was waiting for something like that.
I'm too tired to make it. So obviously, this has been one of those podcasts that's meant to come out weeks ago. So many apologies there. Times and schedulings and all that got all moved around. Bish bash bosh. We're here now, and yeah, you can also expect a drunk watch along of this to be released on Friday. Very exciting times. A very good strong watch along as well. We actually get into talk about the episode as well towards the end. But first, guys, just how are you feeling? Obviously, Web of Fear came out. That was something that happened. I want to quickly get your thoughts because I know that the whole Doctor Who fandom is going crazy about how it looks, the animation specifically. I know, John, you obviously very much. I'll wait until I see it and give my opinion.
I'm going to let Owen go first, actually, because I'm conscious that I quite often go first in these things. I'm going to let Owen go first.
Well, I'll say that. Well, what I've been saying to everyone, it's better than nothing, and it's better than just having telesnaps and audios because, like myself, others can struggle with that. So even just having an animation, it's not the most amazing animation in the world, and it's quite jarring. I can see what they were trying to do. Because I watched the sort of the making of the animation on the Blu-ray and the special features. So I love the concept of how they were trying to do it. I think the execution of it wasn't very well done. Yeah, I think they could have just stuck with the old animation personally.
I'll agree. I think for me, I understand if they want to try and push the limits of technology, but obviously we know the animation's on a budget as well, so I'm fully okay with it being 2D and simple. I'm fully okay with that, and I think this was incredibly unneeded and unnecessary. I like they're a part that like, I think the release overall is good. I will say the box set with the extras and the higher rendered episodes of the rest of the episode, but for me the animation is just it's let's be honest. We're accepting it because the episode doesn't exist and there's no other way better watching it. But I don't think anyone would pick this version if there was, a 2D out there. I don't think anyone would gravitate towards the 3D. I mean, I could be wrong. I'm speaking for an entire fandom where some people say shit just to get and annoy other people. But yeah, I think it fell flat. I don't think it looked great. It baffles me. It's the movements of the faces I find really weird. The fact that they gave Travers a big cock in a scene I find very weird. Have you not seen the big Travers' cock? Have you not seen that snap?
I must have missed that.
There's one.
I've seen the big cock. I've not seen it snap. That sounds painful.
Yeah, that's a hidden Easter egg on the dude. No, but they get that Travis has a bulge in one episode. The Yetis move really strange. The eyes stare into your soul, like Beef said on the Suicide Squad podcast, which also released today. You don't want to look into the eyes of the models because they will just give you nightmares. So I think it's just a near miss, and I kind of wish they never do this again because I think simple is sometimes better. I appreciate the go. I'm happy that it was with one episode instead of a whole serial, because I think that means at least there's still a decent amount of it that you can watch and not think at least I didn't do something like Marco Polo like this, and this is the only way you can watch Marco Polo. You know what I mean? He did this one episode, so you can sort of get over it, watch 20 minutes, and be like, yeah, that's it. let's get back to it. But John, I see you smiling. So, what's your thoughts on the matter?
These are all very valid points. And for me, I don't have a huge problem with it. The only thing that we've had previously is a telesnap reconstruction. I don't like telesnap reconstructions. The problem with those is that obviously they have text on the screen to go alongside the narration, whereas if you've got something on, say, a tape or a CD, you've actually got that being read out. You've got somebody telling you what's going on. So from my perspective, they're just inaccessible. I'm not going to go so far as to say that telesnaps are ableist, because it's, again, something for nothing. But when there's stuff already out there on fucking audio and CD for all of the missing episodes that's done with a talking narration, it does jar me a little bit that people don't bother to do that with telesnaps. So, yeah, for me, it's better than what was previously out there. Yes, there are some issues, not necessarily with the animation in itself in terms of the drawing, but certainly in terms of how they've motion captured it. I think I said in our little group chat earlier this week that the motion, apparently they didn't hire actors for the motion capture. They kind of did it themselves. And I think I said earlier this week that the motion capture looks like they not only haven't watched those characters moving in the other episodes, it also looks like they've never seen people walk before. What they were doing with some of the hand movements and head bobbing, I don't know. But for me, I think it kind of annoyed me a bit because it kind of dug into something a little bit deeper within the fandom that I've talked about before and that really gets on my wick. And this is the point where you start getting flaming torches and people writing into the show. So I'm sorry, guys, but I'm going to get my high horse a little bit here.
That's cool.
I wasn't saying sorry to you. I was saying sorry to
whoever
might be listening.
Okay.
I don't fuck what you two think. But so there were two or three. Well, I mean, probably more than two or three. There's certainly two or three that I spotted. I'm not going to name names, but y'all know what I'm talking about. At least one person, I completely fucking outed them and said they can suck my cock in one of our group chats. But there are two or three quite prominent people on Twitter that had tweeted sort of clips of the colour version and gone, doesn't it look shit? Doesn't it look shit? And worse to that effect. The colour version looks 10 times worse than the black and white version. The black and white version is actually bearable and sits very well with the rest of the story. The colour version isn't. It is not great. In order to get to the colour version, you've actually got to switch discs. So for me, people deliberately picking out elements of the colour version is performative negativity. It's people kicking off for the sake of kicking off. I don't actually think we even needed a colour version on there.
Nope.
I didn't think it was necessary.
It looks worse. It shows
Especially
up
in 16:9.
Yeah, if it shows up the flaws of the animation, and it works so much better on one disc with the black and white episode rendered with the with the rendered other episodes.
Yeah.
It works so much better. So people were going, it was almost like people's thought process was, oh, is this brilliant new thing? But rather than talking about the black and white one that's actually okay and sharing bits of that, let's all have a laugh and share bits of the one that looks really shit and pick the shittest bits of that and go, oh, look, isn't this shit? Isn't it funny? Isn't it funny? When these people haven't got the animation talent themselves to fucking draw a 5-year-old child's house, in my view. It's like, it's not like you've got fucking Nick Park or the Disney Corporation or Pixar sitting there going, oh, look how shit this is. You've got Steve who lives in his fucking basement, who probably wouldn't be able to animate it himself because he doesn't know what a woman's boobies actually look like. not that there's women's boobies, not that there's women's boobies in not that there's women's boobies in the web of film that I've noticed.
Oh,
But yeah, not that there's women's, and obviously having seen boobies is not relative to artistic talent. But
oh, that took a turn.
but you know, I find it negativity for negativity's sake. It's performative. It's essentially clickbait. People just going, "Oh, I'm going to get people to laugh with me and hate on this." I even saw people going, "Oh yeah, don't stand for this. Don't fucking buy it." Well, fine. You stick with YouTube recon then, and the rest of us will enjoy the other 5 episodes in better quality than we've ever had them before, and some wonderful, fantastic extra features. End of the day, we're getting Evil of the Daleks in 5 weeks' time. The 3 of us are seeing it in 3 weeks' time. Well, and when this goes out, we're seeing it 3 weeks yesterday. You know, this is soon going to be forgotten about because we've got this gorgeous 2D 7-part story that, like, 6 weeks ago, none of us even knew was this close. None of us even knew was coming. You know, just get over yourselves, Doctor Who Twitter. Find something that you love, and you know, rather than taking the piss out of saying
I actually knew it was coming, but I couldn't tell you. I want to see
I think the moral of John's story is go look at boobs, Doctor Who Twitter. Just go look at boobs.
Don't encourage them. Don't encourage them. You know, find a way of going. Yeah, okay. Got to find a way to get back from this. What I'm trying to say is find a way of going and looking at actual boobs or abs or arses or penises or whatever it is that draws your attention, that you're attracted to. And when I say actual, I mean consenting people that want to show you them, not messaging strangers on the internet going, show me what's it. But have a look at mine. You know, because let's face it, that's what 80% of these fuckers will do as a solution. So we won't encourage them to do that. But yeah, just chill the fuck out. You know, okay, the colour animation looks shit. Enjoy the black and white one. If you couldn't enjoy that, enjoy the fact that we've got 6 episodes now of a story that 8 years ago there was 1 episode of. You know?
Yep.
And just relax.
Yeah, I mean, even with, like, you know, as bad as the animation may be, whether it's in color or black and white, and you know, whatever your views are upon it, at least with the animation, it gives you that visualization. You know, you can see what's going on.
Yeah.
You know, so it's, you know, it's better than, you know, telly snaps and better than nothing at all. So.
And this is people's hard work. People have worked on this for months. You know, I'm not going to name names, but we know through an acquaintance of ours how hard the animation teams work and how pushed they are to get these things done. This is their hard work. So rather than just shitting on something, think to yourself, actually, there's people behind that. There's people,
and they have feelings too.
There's people that have tried their best. You know, talented people that have tried their best, really busted a gut for something that we should be grateful for. You know, because we've got a visualization of something that we didn't have a visualization of. And yeah, they've got feelings. And yeah, some of them have probably got fucking Twitter. So they're going to see you shitting all over what they've done. And you wouldn't like them going around your place of work and going, oh, you stacked that shelf a bit wonky, mate.
Yeah. No, I'm with you on that. You know, I think the issue is again, like that, just the entitlement, people just bitching for bitching's sake. Are you like you said, there was no reason necessarily.
And I know that I'm bitching about bitching, but It's the
Oh,
only
that's what's the best part. This is what the podcast is
it's
for.
it's the only language that these people understand.
Exactly. But also as well, this is one thing for future releases. I know John is very passionate about this as well. I'm saying, do not fucking release promo images or show images of the thing if you get it early. You have no right to post it on social fucking media if the release date has not come out. People do not want to be seeing that on their fucking timeline. You can show a picture if you got it. Oh, look, there's no still, but good for you. But do not show images of the fucking episode before it's out.
Yeah, and like at least one significant Doctor Who fan account with a major following tweeted a clip. I think like on the Sunday, or the Saturday, like at least before the Monday that it was officially released. Tweeted a clip of it that hadn't been officially released, and it's like, fuck off. And you know, that was actually the person that I said could suck my cock.
Yeah.
But you know, it's like, yeah, okay, Amazon came up early on this and a lot of people got it on the Saturday. Not everyone did.
Yeah.
But yeah,
No, we did get it.
Check your entitlement. I think I even had somebody in our chat come back to me and went, well, I got mine yesterday. Like, well, good for you, but not everybody fucking did.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I think like this. I've said to John. I mean, I'm sort of lucky in that I'm not in any Twitter sphere exactly. I have a bit of football, I have a bit of wrestling, I have a bit of everything on my Twitter. So I'm sort of lucky that I don't see all of this. I kind of get it vetted through our chat, but fucking hell, I like dogs. Also, as well, don't be fucking racist cunts. That's my last message to Doctor Who Twitter. Don't fucking do it. That stuff's
did that rear its head over this as well?
not over this specific thing, but just in general. It all kicked off, and I'm sick of it. We're in 2021. Why? Not that it was ever acceptable anywhere, but why the fuck now are we being racist and sending death threats to people? I'm fucking sick of it. We're better than this, you know. Well, I like to at least think we are. I don't want to look on Twitter and see that someone has been sent death threats. Oh, why have they done that? Oh, they made something. Oh, big whoop.
Don't be ableist either, actually, while we're at it. Don't be racist, don't be ableist, don't be homophobic, don't be sexist. Basically, you know what?
Don't be a cunt.
Yeah, you know what? And you said it before me this week, but yeah, you know what? This should be the new strap line for the Timeless podcast. Don't be a cunt.
Yeah, that's our job. We're the hosts of the cunts. Everyone else, we can call each other cunts. But yeah, just stop it. Twitter, stop it. Be nice to each other. Be nice to each other. That's the main thing.
Welcome to the Timeless Podcast. Don't be a cunt.
Yes, exactly. That should be my new intro. If only thankfully I don't get monetized, so I can say whatever I like at this point. But yeah, just don't be a twat. You know, and I think Twitter should be, on paper, such a wonderful place for Doctor Who fans to meet each other, chat, interact. In actual fact, Doctor Who Twitter is one of those places where you just go, oh, what the fuck's happened today then? And John and Owen back me up. Whenever we go on Zoom, we do have somebody in our group who just goes, has anything kicked off today? Because they expect something to kick off. Because which I find fundamentally stupid.
Oh, I mean, that's something that came up earlier this week as well on Twitter, on Doctor Who Twitter. Don't send people pictures of your knob. I really don't fucking need that.
Yeah, that's yeah. I don't understand. Like Doctor Who Twitter, sort yourself out is I think our main thing.
I think we need to sit down at some point and just write the rules for Doctor Who Twitter. You know, just the rules by which people will engage. Otherwise, they get thrown out. And even then, we'll probably be accused of fucking gatekeeping.
Exactly. But that's the fucking world we live in these days.
But, you know, if people are going to act like cunts, you need gates.
Exactly. So I also want to quickly just talk about how something positive with the Doctor Who community before we get to Idiot Sutton. How fucking cool the promo and the advertising for Series 13 has been. This sort of Easter egg hunt, hashtag find the Doctor, which kind of started out as an online code thing, now has turned into people going to certain locations and finding things, putting that on Twitter. That's really cool. I think this is really cool. It's like people coming together. I think it's really cool.
Yeah, there's been a lot of negativity over the last few years about how the series has been promoted. But you cannot fault this. It's fucking brilliant. It's got people talking, it's got people speculating, it's got people spending time on it. Brilliant. I haven't got a fucking clue what's going on.
No, we don't.
I'll be honest, I'm not even trying to find out. I'm just happy that there's a mystery out there, and eventually somebody's going to explain it to me, because we're not in the Moffat era where you had to make it up for yourself 3 years later.
Yeah, I like how they're sort of like, in the meantime, they're keeping like the fans busy instead of like speculating, on what might be upcoming in the series. Instead, they're making like the fans will speculate this new sort of like puzzle and Easter egg hunt that they've set out for the fans. So it's nice that they've actually done something purposefully there.
Yeah, no, I think it's really brilliant as well. Like we saw the sonic screwdriver in that museum. It was like unknown alien object. I think that's really cool. We had our friend Richard, friend of the show, who went to a museum in Liverpool, and to find his piece of the puzzle, he had to go through a hall of statues, which is like they've actually thought about placement for these things as well, because obviously the statues lead towards weeping angels, which unfortunately got leaked. So even though everyone kind of knew it anyway, but yeah, I think that it's not been done for the sake of it. They've really thought about the placement of things when they're releasing things. Why? I just hope the ending isn't a picture of a fucking table. I hope it like the code leads to like a trailer or a good promo image or a reveal of a character. Just something that isn't. Here's Vinder and the Doctor in a promo pic together.
What it's going to be, right? And this is going to work brilliantly on the audio podcast. What it's going to be, right? It's just going to be a picture of Chris Chibnall going like that.
Yeah. If you don't know, John just put his middle finger up to the camera. There you go. But I think it's sick. I'm looking forward to the 6 parts event serial. I think they're calling it an event serial. Is that what they're going with?
It is, which still kind of makes me think that we might be getting consecutive nights. Because like normally when they say things like event serial, event TV, it's all stuff that's kind of packed together across a week. So probably completely wrong. But yeah,
I'd be up for a week of Doctor Who, just dominating the BBC home.
I'd be up for a week of Doctor Who. I don't think it will be, but just the phrase "event serial" makes you kind of go, "Ooh," it's not something they've used before. Something like they did with Torchwood Children of Earth.
Mm.
Yeah, exactly. I think we'll see what happens. I'm just excited. I'm one of the people that's actually legit excited. I know you guys are too. Let's hope. Bye. That's awesome. As my mic has changed. Hang on. Oh my god. Is it going to fix itself? Oh, it's fixed itself. Thank Christ. Sorry about that, guys.
Yeah, they've hyped it up really well. So let's hope that it lives up to the hype.
Yeah, exactly. Right, here we go. This is going to be a fun one. I know that we have this discussion. This episode is going to be fun because not all of us agree on everything. So it's going to be one of those where we discuss, but we don't be a dick about it. This is how you do it, Doctor Who Twitter. Get ready. This is a prime example of how to have a different opinion and not be an asshole. So we're talking about the Saturn today. We did a drunk watch song of this a couple of weeks back on Friday, but it's being released this Friday. So I'm a bit hazy on every single thing, but we'll try and I've got these guys here to help me out and try and remember like as much as we can about the individual stuff. Essentially, the plot is Doctor and Rose plan to go see Elvis. I think they don't go see Elvis. They go to the time where the coronation's about to happen. And there's this villain called The Wire who wants to feed on all the people watching the new TVs supplied by Mr. Magpie, who's selling off for dirt cheap. The Doctor's like, that ain't normal. Nope, not many people had TVs back in the day. Why do they have them on the street? So he finds this family called the Connellys. Turns out there's some inter-family turmoil. People are losing their faces, and we go from there. Did I do a good job?
That pretty much sums it up. Yeah, that pretty much sums it up. Yeah, we're in London in 1953.
Brilliant. There we go. Right, so guys, I'll go first in this one. I think this episode is good. I think it's good. Obviously you guys know that I do have some issues with it, but overall I do think as a mid-series episode, in the middle of a series, but before this, we literally had a massive Cyberman two-parter and a departure of a companion. I think it's a solid 45 minutes of TV. I think it's fine. I think it's fun. It's definitely not insulting like things like Sleep No More and other things like that. Like, I can watch this fine and sit down and be like, that was decent, move on with my day. However, I do think there are some issues which we'll get into deeper. But yeah, overall, I'd say I rather enjoy it. What about you, Owen?
Well, I remember watching it when it first aired, and I really enjoyed it then. And every time I've watched it since, my opinion of it hasn't changed. I think it's a fun little story. I love the setting of it. I think the costumes look fantastic, especially Rose. I mean, Rose in that dress, amazing. Um, all the various other characters are brilliant. Um, and the sort of like the concept of the wire, it's like, what can I base it on? I suppose it's something kind of, I don't know, the Rootons or something like that. You've got like a shapeless alien that, you know, can just sort of like transfer itself from here to there. Yeah,
Yeah, absolutely.
Very much like, it's very much like the Vardans in the Invasion of Time.
yeah,
You know, the ones that can kind of like literally just travel along sound waves or any kind of signal wave.
yeah.
Yeah, John, what do you think of the story?
I really like this one. I really like this one. Anybody that knows me knows that I'm not the biggest fan of Series 2 in general. You know, I think I don't really like the Rose and Ten dynamic. I think that actually they ruined a really good character in Rose, and you know, you don't see you see a lot of bad in her in Series 2. And you know, there are some real low points in this series, but actually for this is a really good monster of the week type story. That when you watch it back, goes into some deeper stuff and touches on some deeper stuff as well. It's brilliantly written. You know, when you compare this to some other eras of the show and think how some other eras of the show might have handled elements of this story, it really shows you what an amazing writer Russell T Davies is. And you know, what a great showrunner he was, because it's brilliantly written. But it's, yeah, I'm a real fan of it. It's a bit of a it's one of the highlights of series 2 for me, along with the Girl in the Fireplace and the Satan Pit two-parter. You know, I really do like it, and it's also got my favourite Rose costume in.
There we go. All right, so I think let's start off positive. And I think the main positive for this is definitely the character interactions. I think are golden. I think, especially when you have the subplot between the Doctor speaking to Mr. Connolly and Mr. Connolly being this this traditional man who's like, he's coming from war. He's got the PTSD from the war. His poor wife Rita gets it a lot from him. Rita, as he says, start the entire story. And he's a bit of a prick. He clearly doesn't give a shit about his family. He's more just wanting to uphold the sort of the legend that he wants to, you know, how he wants to be perceived. And he even sounds like his family. I love the fact, I think one of the highlights of Tennant's era even is that scene with just him and Mr. Connolly back and forth. And Rose gets a few licks in there as well, which is great. But they're all enjoying themselves in that scene. I think that is one of the highlights of series 2. Just that scene alone, I think is great, where the Doctor sort of undermines Mr. Connolly for a little bit. And then, unfortunately, he realizes that he thinks he shouldn't be doing all the housework and stuff like that. But yeah, I think that scene's class. What about you guys?
Yeah, Jamie Foreman isn't the most diverse of actors out there, but he's really good at parts exactly like this. You know, that kind of hard-nosed, almost kind of bullying. Well, in this case, definitely bullying, sort of patriarch of a family. You know, very kind of traditional values. His house is his kingdom, and everybody does what he says. You know, so he's really good in this. So obviously to have somebody like the Doctor and Rose come along who have very much more modern beliefs in terms of these things, that's far less traditional beliefs, that really gets disrupted. And you know, so you kind of see like his reaction when he is challenged is very funny to see, and also nicely done. You know, because it's like, well, this is probably the first time that somebody stood up to him, with the exception of the grandmother, who you kind of get the impression probably did stand up to him a bit as a sort of traditional East End grandmother. You know, so it's very good to see that. It's fascinating to watch how that family dynamic changes through the course of their interaction with the Doctor and Rose.
Yeah, no, I entirely agree. I think it's one of those.
Yeah. Because it seems like as soon as sort of like, you know, Grandma Connolly's gone through the whole thing where she's had her face taken, then yeah, it kind of, yeah, it's turned on its head, and now he's like, he's then basically put himself, right, I'm in charge now. And then, you know, it's like, you know, the bullying of, you know, his family, you know, it's kind of relentless.
Yeah, and that's the thing. It's like also what comes across really strongly is that he's all about reputation. You know, he's all about not being embarrassed. So, you know, the minute that the grandmother loses her face, he's like, right, we've got to keep her up in the attic. We've got to keep her up in the bedroom, locked upstairs. Nobody's allowed to see what's going on because this is going to be embarrassing for our family. You know, and he's like,
he's like, yeah, turning out to the authorities.
Yeah, and he's like, yeah, we're going to have everybody come into the house to watch the coronation, and my house is going to be spotless, and we're going to have all these wonderful things going on because you know
I'm having no ruin in it.
I'm just the I want to show that I'm the big I am around here, sort of thing.
You know, I think that's done really well, and I think throughout the consistency of the performance and the writing for Mr. Connolly is fantastic. Another person I want to give kudos to is David Tennant in the story. I think he's rather brilliant. Not that he rarely isn't brilliant in Doctor Who, but in this story specifically, I think he does a very good job. You know, and I think it works really well. Him again, I sort of like the fact he separated from Rose in this one for the second half. Like John said, I really don't like the back and forth between Rose and Ten. I find the intro to this episode quite cringy when they come up the TARDIS and they're pseudo flirting, and I'm like, what is this? Like, it's not entertaining. It's just cringy. What's going on? The Doctor puts on a fucking accent. Come on, doll. What the fuck? No. Why? He wouldn't do that the rest of his run when talking to a woman. Why is he doing it now? Jesus.
I think it's because they're also talking about how Jackie used to watch sort of like the old 50s sort of like movies like Summer Holiday and probably Elvis films and stuff like that. And so people get that sort of impression that, you know, that's the way they kind of talk.
Yeah, but it doesn't come across well. It doesn't come across well
in the situation.
Yeah, no, but it's got this flirting undertone though, doesn't it? And it's fucking awful. Like, I'm gonna be honest, they were like.
I mean, for me, it's kind of like a private joke between them, though, which you know, obviously we get to see, but yeah, it is a little bit cheesy, but it could be something that, you know, they would just both laugh at.
Yeah, I suppose, but
it certainly doesn't come across as, you know, oh, like literally at the end of the last episode they left Mickey behind.
Yeah. But yeah, it's exactly. I don't know, it just didn't work for me, but that's why I really like the story, because Tennant's sort of on his own, and he gets to. It's the first time properly as well in his era. We sort of see what he's like when he's on his own, because for most of every story he's been in, he's actually had Rose, apart from when she's Cassandra, but first time he gets kind of see him doing his own detective work on his own, which obviously he'd be quite privy to later on in his era a lot more. I think it's really cool the interactions he has, how he gets around, how he sort of learns that pop-up market. He gets around that very quickly. I think it's really good, and I think he sells it well.
And the change in his character when Rose's face gets taken, is also really very well handled, and that shows you what a good actor Tennant is. The minute that he sees that Rose's face has got taken, he's like, no, this is personal now, and I'm going to move heaven and earth to stop this happening.
Yeah, exactly. And I think he sells it really well as well. He doesn't overdo it. He gives it the right amount of gravitas, so it doesn't become like a really cringy speech sort of thing. He gives it the right amount of anger, so it doesn't overdo it. And I think that seems brilliant as well. Fundamentally intense, just a joy to watch in this. I think obviously Euros Lynn directed this, and they had worked with Euros a lot before, so it's clear the dynamic was there. That team knew what they were doing, so they just were on fire here. This is definitely when they're in their element.
Tennant's just like he's an acting chameleon. You can give him any role of any kind, and he will just change his look and persona and fit that role perfectly.
Really? Margaret Thatcher.
He could probably pull that one off.
David Tennant is Margaret Thatcher.
They gave him the Dennis Nielsen role, and it didn't really take much for him to change. But
does that say a lot about David Tennant?
Very eerie.
Oh, we're going on a trip with Owen here. Where are we going?
No, Nelson Mandela.
Oh, don't go there.
As well, chaps, I just want to get your opinion on my another element I really like is the interactions between the Wire and Magpie. I think are really cool and quite understated within the script. I think Magpie's one of those characters as well that's very good for what you get out of him. I think it's really cool how like he doesn't want to do any of this, but he's obviously like we don't really see what she's done, but she's done something to him. It's very understated. You don't really know what's going on.
It's kind of like the whole sort of like the face-off thing. It's like she's somehow managed to get some sort of hold over him to cause this sort of like pain in his mind. So then, she can bend him to her will and, make like this portable TV set and, go around selling more TVs. So then, she can claim more victims. So yeah, he's the pivotal piece in her plan, as it were.
You see, my interpretation of this is that Magpie has also been affected by the war in the same way that Mr. Connolly has. Obviously in a different way. Whereas it's made Mr. Connolly harsher and more of a bully, it's made Magpie more kind of easier to push around, shall we say, and easier to manipulate. So the Wire's kind of targeted in on that, and although he doesn't want to engage, he's effectively following orders. He's not. It's like he's not got his own autonomy, possibly through another form of PTSD. That's what. That's what to me I kind of take from all of this is like every adult male that you come across in that particular story will have gone to war because this is only 8 years after World War II finished. So every fit adult male would have gone to war. They'd have had some horrific experiences as part of that.
Yeah, no, I'd not seen it that way, and actually, I think that's a really interesting way of putting it. I think it's really cool. I think it's a really cool idea as well because this is his first script, isn't it? As well, this is the first time we saw Mark Gatiss write for Who. I think it's one of his better ones. I do like Mark Gatiss as a writer. I don't know whether his ideas kind of get what's the word, sort of blended a bit and a bit watered down compared to what he actually wants to do. Because I know he's a very smart man who can write a lot of amazing stuff, but some of his stories fall flat. This one is one of the better ones, I think. But yeah, I think that again, that back and forth is really interesting. And with that outset you just put, John, it makes me look at it in a whole new light. And just that, I think it's brilliant mirroring of characters as well.
Yeah, I think Gatiss is somebody that works better as part of a partnership, a part of a team. That's why it went so well with the League of Gentlemen. That's why with Sherlock it worked so well with Moffat. For the first couple of series, anyway. The less said about later stuff, the better, maybe. And that actually, their version of Dracula was really good as well, actually. So yeah, I think, yeah, you kind of do. I think you probably do. It is one of his better episodes because it doesn't kind of run away from him. It's quite a tight setting. You've got a small number of additional characters. You've got an idea and you stick with it. It's quite a rigid setting, and that works for him, I think.
Yeah, no, I absolutely agree, and I think again it's one of those things where it doesn't really fall apart too much. Next thing, and it's already has a really, really good things people want to talk about first. Because I was going to move on to like a sort of mixed sort of thing, which for me is the cat.
I mean, if I could just talk, I know I mentioned the writing earlier. There's a couple of bits I want to talk about there. I mean, some of which you may disagree with, some we may come on to, but the scene outside the Connolly's house where Mr. Connolly's effectively called out by his son, and his son outs him as the person that's been informing on all of the locals, etc. I think that's brilliant because the Doctor just stands there and lets that happen. He just observes it. And so many other eras, both classic and new, so many other Doctors would have got involved there, would have kind of thrown themselves into that situation and probably made it worse. Whereas 10 just realizes, no, this is something that this man has to hear from his own son, and this is something that the son has to say to the father in order to fix this dynamic, this family dynamic. And I think it's brilliantly done. You watch it and you notice it, and it's like the only other Doctor that you can possibly see doing that is Capaldi. The only other Doctor you can possibly see taking that kind of watcher role and allowing it to happen in front of him. And I think that's brilliant. And the other thing that I wanted to touch on around the writing, obviously at the end, you get the scene where Mr. Connolly is walking away and Rose tells the son, I can't remember, is Tommy?
Tommy, yeah.
Okay, Tommy. Rose tells Tommy to go after it. And that shows you what a brilliant script writer is working here, because certain other eras of the show, including the current era, have this over-reliance on exposition. And so if that scene had happened, say in series 12, if it had happened as a Chibnall, it would have been Rose going, oh no, you can't let your dad run away because I lost my dad before I was even born. And it's really, really horrible. And it's had this effect on my life going, all this. But we already know all that. So all that you need Rose to say is, let your dad go after him. And we work the rest of it out for ourselves. And I sort of, getting into a little bit of family history, my mum lost her own father when she was 16 years old. They were very close. My mum lost her own father when she was 16 years old. And I know how that affected her. And that's exactly how she would have reacted in a situation like that. She'd have been like, that's your dad, go after him. Sort it out. And I think it's beautifully written as a final scene to the story. I think it's beautifully written. because it's not overdone, it's not overwordy. You know exactly what's going on. You're not an idiot, so you don't need it explained to you. It's just lovely.
I absolutely agree on that. Thank you, because I forgot that. I forgot that. I forgot that in my head. But yeah, no, I fundamentally agree with you. I think that is a beautiful kind of cap off to the story. Again, I think, like you said, 10 is brilliant in that scene because he literally does fuck all.
Yeah, although I'm not a fan of Rose in series 2 so much as series 1, I do think that's one of Rose's best moments. It's one of Rose's best moments. It's just that kind of, and actually Billy's fantastic in this entire episode. But it's one of, when she's sort of standing up to the wire as well and stuff. It's great. But yeah, it's one of Rose's best moments. Just because it's so understated, but you know exactly what's going on. You know what's going through her head at that time.
I can agree with you. I can agree. I think it's brilliant. I think it's like you said, it's one of those bits of writing where in the modern era that wouldn't happen, unfortunately, because I don't know why they think exposition needs to be so heavy, but that's the model they've gone for.
You have 90 seconds of dialogue. Oh, don't get me started on exposition. You know what? Right, I had a few weeks ago, there was somebody on Twitter attempting to defend the excessive exposition in the Chibnall era by saying, well, it's really good for the visually impaired because it tells them what's going on.
Oh.
And so I was like, right, firstly, this is somebody without any visual impairment talking for me here. So I was like,
John's like, hold my beer.
Hang on a second. I was like, hang on a second. Just I put down whatever I was doing at that time, picked up my little keyboard. I was like, except of course that's not the case because we've got audio description. So we don't need it to actually be in a fucking script of a program because you've got somebody telling you exactly what's going on.
Yeah, exactly. I think I think this scene is golden. I think it's a brilliant cap off to the story. And like I said, I think it's one of Rose's best moments. I think it's one of the 10th Doctor's underrated moments actually, because although he doesn't do anything, I think it's brilliant.
Yeah, he knows that Rose is in a position to handle it. He knows that Rose, because although yes, he's lost his own family, he knows specifically that Rose has lost her father, and he knows the impact that had on her. So he knows that she's able to deal with that and be like, help him sort it out. It's great. And I also love the message that Mr. Connolly isn't beyond redemption. Because I think that's something else that would possibly happen in the modern era. It'd be like, oh no, he'd be gone. He'd never be coming back. And we never see him be physically abusive. And
I think it's just that he's got that hard exterior.
Yeah, and we do know that he's been affected by his war service. There's never any excuse for domestic abuse, for domestic violence, or psychological abuse of any kind. But I like to think the Doctor and Rose see something and think, this isn't essentially a bad man. It's a man who has done bad things and has learned his lesson.
Yeah,
that's the impression you get at the end, actually, that Connolly has learned his lesson.
I don't know whether I get that impression exactly, but I definitely get the impression of he can learn his lesson, he can improve, and he can get there.
He's downtrodden by the end. This proud man, and don't forget his pride is the root of the issue here.
Yep.
This proud man is gone.
Yep. No, I fundamentally agree with you. I think it's a brilliant ending. I think it's one of the better endings of series 2. I think it's one of the better endings of Doctor Who in general, because I think it's so mature and it doesn't go for the easy way out. It goes for the realistic way out, like you said. It's relatable to yourself and the people that have gone, in your family and stuff.
Yeah, it's an ending that doesn't get talked about enough when people talk about New Who. Because it's not saving the world. but it's saving that little family unit.
Yeah, I think it's brilliant. Now, after all being kind and nice, I'm gonna flip the tables a little bit here and say the one because it is just one thing I don't like, and that for me is the wire. It's got nothing to do with the performance. It's got something to do for me of you've got what over here in this corner of you've got the story with the colonies, a very serious, like we've talked about, a very serious story of the effects of war, family, implied family abuse. We like Johnson, we don't see it, but it's implied. And then on the other side,
there's definitely psychological abuse there.
Yeah, and then on the other side we have this 100% camp villain who goes hungry. Oh look, we're going to climb a tower whilst lightning shooting out the. I just think I understand Doctor Who. You have to contrast. You can't just be 100% serious and dark. But for me, it's 100% this side of 100% serious and then 100% camp, and they just do not mix. I think the wire could work in prospect, but I don't know whether the hungries and the feed me's I watch it and I go, what the fuck am I watching? Like it's so bizarre, and I just go, I don't. I just think it clashes. I know obviously you guys are going to disagree, and I can't wait to get into this. But for me, I just find it. I think they don't fit in the same episode, outside of the concept.
Okay, if you've not got your Monster of the Week there, if you've not got the Wire there, you don't have an episode of Doctor Who. You've got an episode of fucking Call the Midwife. Sorry, you'll think that I've been sitting on that for a couple of weeks. Actually, I thought of that literally 30 seconds ago. But I don't have such a problem with it. As you know, I don't have such a problem with it. I think the performance is fine. I don't find it that jarring. As I say, this is standard Monster of the Week fare. You've got to have some sort of supernatural or alien threat in there. What this is, and don't forget, this is basing itself off of kind of the sort of 1950s children's television program type thing, that it's deliberately presented in that way. As for the catchphrases, again, I don't find it that problematic because Daleks say exterminate, Cybermen say destroy or delete, depending on whether you're watching old or new series. You've got Sontar Ha, you've got Blink, where the Doctor says blink about 30 times and is celebrated as one of the best episodes ever. So yeah, I genuinely don't have, as you know, I genuinely don't have that problem with it. I think Maureen Lipman's absolutely fine. And I think it's trying to sort of tap into some of the themes of the episode, which are 1950s and television.
Yeah, okay, I see what you mean, and I have been able to think about this because we have this as a discussion on the Drunk One Shot. I wouldn't get rid of the wire. I'd tone it down, and maybe, like you said, that doesn't really go with what they're going for, with it trying to be a representation of TV at the time and the wire taking that percent on. But I still feel, for me, and like I said, I don't think it's the performance, like it's the writing. I just think it contrasts too much. I think there are some really good contrasts in Doctor Who. You think about Turn Left, a very dark story. Wilf, for the most part, is a very good contrast and keeps the episode as light as it can be until the very end. And I think that fits perfectly well. But a story about emotional abuse to turn to Maureen Lipman, by the way, a performance for what she's given, does a fine job. I think it just contrasts too much, and I just sit there and I laugh. And when I see Magpie gripping and climbing a fucking tower after what is such a brilliant, grounded Doctor Who story, it doesn't work for me. They don't fit. They're missing. It's not inherently I'm not saying it's shit. I'm just saying if it was in a different episode where the other plot wasn't so brilliantly, grounded and realistic, it would work. I think they're just too completely opposite, and I just think it clashes too much.
I think you need that juxtaposition, though. I think particularly in RTD era Who, you need that juxtaposition. Maybe in Moffat era Who, you could get away with having a darker monster alongside these other dark themes, because Moffat era Who is a more adult-centric show where they do get darker. RTD era Who is very much family-centric, very, particularly early days, was very much focused more towards kids. So I think you do need that dichotomy, you do need that difference in tone to kind of keep children focused and interested in it. And my the question I ask myself is like, come Monday morning when the kids are back at school, are there going to be 7 or 8-year-olds running around the playground going, "Hungry, feed me"? Yes, there are.
Well, yeah, I see.
Every
Again,
kid loves a catchphrase.
yeah, again, I fully see a point, and I'm listening to it. It just again, I see why they did it. I think it works for most people. I'm just a little bitch when it comes to these things, and I'm just nitpicking. But
We know.
it just thank you. It just doesn't work. It just doesn't work for me personally. I'm again, it's probably just from my enjoyment of the other story arc, and I think how brilliant that is. And you can, but I do think it's not as well handled as it could have been. Still, like I've mentioned, there are better contrasts within even RTD era Doctor Who, where the contrasts don't take away from the other plot, where I feel like this one does. I feel like that they don't. There's not that great synergy with the plots. I think they feel very separate from each other, in not only in tone but also in the only link is I think there's 2 different subplots competing here, and it gets messy. And for me, it doesn't work. And I think the ending of the Climb of the Tower is hilarious for all the wrong reasons. I just think it's obviously this one where they're trying to set the budget. It's why it's in 4 locations. So you get the shots of the tower that look absolutely atrocious. You get like Magpie on the verge of like tears, but the performance isn't that good because I'm and also the Doctor to chase after him up a fucking hit like tower. I'm like, what is going on? This was an episode 5 minutes ago about a wife being emotionally abused. How have we got here? Like this, I was like, what's happening? But yeah, I don't know. I just think for me, it doesn't really work. I think it falls flat. Yeah, that's.
I mean, the tie there is emotional abuse, though, isn't it? Because Magpie's being emotionally abused by the Wire.
But it's not well done though. For that part, which kind of like, I think the early stuff is very well done. I think when it turned into a car chase, and we've got to climb a hill, we've got to climb a tower. And Tommy's got to come with him as well and try and stop him. It's like, what is going on, Doctor? You're bringing a kid with you to try and climb it. Like, what's he going to do? I will say Tommy's characterization is very good. But I'm sat there going, well, what is he contributing in the final act, to be honest? But yeah, I don't know. It just doesn't work. I just don't think it works as well as it could have for me.
What do you think, Owen?
I feel sorry for any parents after any kids at the time watching that story, because I could just imagine kids sitting down or it's nearing tea time and kids are just going, "Hungry, feed me."
I mean, you would have been about 11 at the time, so is that what you were doing?
Probably.
I would have been.
My mum would be like, "What the fuck are you going on about now? Is this a Doctor Who thing again?"
Shut up, you little cunt.
Yeah. Oh, what do you make of the finale and the Wire subplot? Are you more on John's side or on my side? Like, what's your thoughts? Does it work for you? I'm
more on John's side. It all works out for me. I think it all kind of slots together, and as John was saying about the juxtaposition that you've got the lightheartedness stuff. We've got the emotional side of stuff, and it just kind of it all balances out, and it just works really well.
Yeah. Well, there you go, guys. I've been defeated today. Is there anything else we want to talk about with the episode? Are we all good to wrap up, give scores, and find out what we're reviewing next?
Yeah, I'm all good with that, mate.
Yeah.
I think for me, this might shock you because obviously I was very harsh for the last like 10, 15 minutes, but I'm going to give this a 6.5, leaning towards a 7 for me. I think it is legitimately very solid Doctor Who. It's more than watchable. Like I would, if you said we're going to watch it today, I wouldn't be like, oh fuck's sake, not this again. I'd be like, all right, cool. I think it's entertaining. I think it's doing the job it's set out to do. Be that bridge between the big Sideman two-parter and the really, really, really shit Satan two-parter. But hey, that's another unpopular opinion from me. Yeah, I know your faces say it all. But yeah, I think 6.5 for me, leaning towards 7, I think is where I put this one. Who wants to go next with the scores? Owen?
Okay. I'd say 7.
Fair enough.
That's
And
my
John,
rating for it.
I feel like John's going to be the highest because he's only had good things to say. So John, where are
I'm
you
good.
popping?
I'm good. I'm kind of torn between 7.5 and 8. I'm probably going to go 8. And so this isn't my favourite series of Who. I think the best of this series is The Girl in the Fireplace, which I'd rank higher than this. But yeah, this and the Satan Pit two-parter are quite close behind. So yeah, I would go 8 with this because I think it does actually it does exactly what you want it to do, isn't it? As a Monster of the Week episode of Doctor Who, with some very nice themes in there that make it rewatchable. You know, where you can watch things and actually notice little things that you wouldn't have noticed on the first watch.
Fair play. Yeah, fair enough. I'm happy about that because there was a good bit of discussion there towards the end as well. It's always nice because I feel like as well we've been quite lucky with the reviews lately when we all just tend to agree that something is good. Or something. Yeah. So it's going to be interesting. Right, what we're doing next, and will John be here for it? Because John said he's going to be here if it's something interesting. If you don't if he's kind of middle of the road, he won't join. So
yeah, are we going to do the sort of usual predicting what we think the
yeah,
next Doctor is going to be?
what do you think it's going to be?
My answer will be the same as always, Tom Baker. Because
And-
that's one with the most stories that we haven't done.
Oh, and
I'll
you
say
can't take the
classic.
set. You know,
'Cause, I mean,
classic.
obviously,
Okay.
there's more classic than new series. So
Sweet.
let's say Sylvester McCoy.
So Sylvester McCoy. Okay. I'm going to click the button.
Around a 4% chance of a McCoy coming up, I think.
Oh, God, I'm in trouble. John's going to be here next time because the randomizer has just chosen Doctor Who and the Silurians and a Taurus story where me and John heavily disagree on the contents of what that is.
Greatest season in Doctor Who.
With one of the worst stories in Doctor Who. Anyway, we'll get there. We'll get there in about a month's time. We'll get there in about a month. That was going to be a fun one because me and John are going to heavily disagree on a lot of that one. But yeah, Owen, you're
7 parts. This one.
7 parts of mediocre John Pertwee.
And bear in mind, it's topical. Parts of it are about a virus.
Indeed.
Absolutely. So, guys, join us then next time when we will be reviewing Doctor Who: The Silurians in a few weeks. But you can also today go watch me and John talk about SummerSlam if you're a wrestling fan, because that would have been out. And also, you can go and check out my episode with Beef that also came out today. So much content on the channel today, but yeah, so much stuff going on. But you guys can all check that out.
Doris, I think there's something in my barn.
Oh God. So yeah, Doctor Who: The Silurians is next. God help me. You can follow me on Twitter, @King_Dom. You can follow John on Twitter, JohnBoy_Cook. You can follow Owen on Twitter, Disco63. What?
You nearly said JohnBoy_Cock.
You can follow Owen at Dr. Disco63. And you can also follow the Who Shop. It's just at the Who Shop.
Twitter, it's at the Who Shop. Instagram, it's the Who Shop Official.
There you go. So you go check them out. They've got some cool things in there. I recommend the baking set because it looks. Have you still got any of those in? Because that
Yeah,
looked dope.
still got them.
Right, go get the
Still in
bacon
stock.
set.
Actually, we got
'Cause
some more stock recently, so
You get a
Yeah.
free apron or something. You get an apron with it's not free, obviously, but you get an apron with it in the thing. So
Yeah.
I recommend.
and a cookbook.
I recommend the underpants.
and on that note, we'll see you guys all soon. Take care. Bye bye.
Don't have nightmares.